Welcome to the Perspectives with Catherine Toon podcast.
All right, everybody, welcome to Perspectives with Catherine Toon. And I have a returning friend who agreed to come back despite all IT issues we were having. Welcome, Channock Banet. It's great to see you.
Yeah, thanks for having me again. I appreciate being a repeat guest.
Awesome. So you just came out with a brand new book, your first book.
It's an affirming thing, so thank you.
Enough already. And I have to say, I love this book. I can resonate with this book. I'm feeling you during this book. It's going to help so many people. So enough already on Amazon. Just go get it now. But we're going to talk about it and then kind of some of the meat of it. What led you to write this book? I know it wasn't like a seamless prospect, but I never know these things to be seamless anyway.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So the main reason I wrote the book, simple answer is I wanted a legacy piece, something I could leave for my boys and have something where they can see into their dad's journey of emotional health, emotional work, and just so they know it's okay for them to go through the process and to feel the emotion, and hopefully help them a little bit escape this like performance-driven life that I've been like held bondage and slave to for nearly my entire life. Wow. And so I wanted it to bring freedom to them. And so that's the biggest piece. Again, another reason why I wanted to do it is I've just always wanted to have something or material about my story, especially over the last like 5 or 6 years, to capture some things that I was dealing with, going through, and leading a church community. I wanted people to be able to have insight into their lead pastor a little bit and kind of my ideology now and how I see and view the church. And I think it'll really help them in bringing understanding when our church doesn't look like every other church, when like my leadership style doesn't match the other lead pastor's style in the church world. And I just wanted them to get the real behind the scenes look into my life and now how I view leadership, honestly.
That is so great. And I have to say, I say this every time I see you. So your church is Hill City. Is it Albany, Indiana? Is that the right? New Albany?
It's so close to New Albany. We're a suburb of Louisville, but officially we're Floyd's Knobs.
Floyd's Knobs.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. And it clusters all together.
Yep.
It's in Indiana, yes. And I tell you, every time I see you, if you had your church over here, I'd be going here. So
yeah, it's an amazing church community. It really is. So grateful to be able to lead some amazing people and really in our transformation. And I know we've been on the podcast talking about not only some of the things we're doing out in the community, but talking about our deconstruction process, our leadership in the church now. And man, we've had so many people be a part of that process and journey with us. And our church community really is amazing. And I'm one of the luckiest guys on the planet to be able to have the opportunity to lead it, to be a part of it. But also, you know, I kind of just look at it as so many people want to talk about like leadership. I'm really opening myself up more into this idea of fellowship and just following the Spirit and living in the flow, not in control. And that's what I'm trying to also convey to the people here. And that it doesn't have to be just one man in a microphone. It doesn't have to be just based on one man's gifting. We can all truly be a part of this beautiful thing called the body together and recognize each other's differences, abilities, giftings, and celebrate that. And that's really the culture that I've tried to create. So I appreciate you saying that you recognize that, notice that, and would love to be a part of it if it was closer to your hometown, for sure.
Right. And that's so good. It's there's just so much healthiness, and we're not looking at perfection, which is one of the things, sort of themes in your book that we can get into, but it's healthy and authentic. And in this book, you are raw and very authentic. And and funny, which I appreciate. Me,
Yeah.
you probably weren't even trying to be, but I found myself chuckling in multiple places. And then also feeling kind of the pain of the places that you found yourself in your journey. This is really a journey out of bondage into freedom from performance. So, tell us a little bit of that journey and how you and how you parlayed that into your book.
Yeah, absolutely. So the journey really started for this book back in 2013. I had taken a few team members down to Aruba. Look at that fly. It's hovering over me.
I didn't see it, so it's
all right,
but
awesome.
I believe you.
Yeah,
You're
amazing. So yeah, your viewers will see that.
Okay.
Yeah, so I visited Aruba and took some of my team members with me, and we went to check in at the hotel, and they didn't have a reservation. And I'm leading this team. We're there for one of Bishop Jamie's leadership summits, and they don't have my reservation. I asked them to look again. They don't have it. I pull out my passport. They're looking at my name. They don't have it. And I'm like, well, I don't know what's going on. And of course, 2013, I think I had like the first iPhone. And so it was trying to connect and get service and all that. And I couldn't find my email. I didn't have it printed off. And so I was like, well, I'm just going to have to book a room. And they're like, we don't have any availability. Like, that's not a possibility. I'm like, well, we have to be there. I know I booked these rooms. And so they looked again, and they finally stopped. The lady stopped and says, well, I don't have a Banet, but I have a Banty, a Mr. Channock Banet. And I just took the reservation. I said, that's me. Whether it was for me or not, I took it. But I was pretty certain. With a name like Channock, I've been called anything and everything. Shaniqua, Shaquille, Shanae, and even Shancock. So taking this reservation, it was a running joke that week with me and my team members that back home in Indiana, I was the nice, conservative pastor of a church, but in Aruba, I'm Shancock, and Shancock can do whatever the heck he wants to do.
You could have dropped the F-bomb, but that's
well,
okay.
no, I'm not going to do that. No,
Okay,
I'm not going to do that.
But we saw the thought.
Yeah, I had to pause there for a second and remember where I was. So I'm having this experience, and when I say I could do whatever I wanted to do, it's not like I wanted to sit there and get drunk all day and party and go crazy. No, it was more of I can do whatever I want. Like, I have no strings attached. I have no weight of any expectation or responsibility or anything. So I had the experience. Looking back a month later, 6 months later, 2 years later, I'm like, why was I so comfortable in being someone else other than who I was? And that just began to open up some doors into some emotional health work, culminating in 2018 when I joined the Townsend Leadership Program, which I was recommended this program by a friend. And I thought it was going to be leadership training, more tools for my tool belt in leadership, but really it was about the emotional health of a leader. And it turned into group therapy, which I'm so grateful for now. And I thank God for it now. But that's really the turning point. And then I was finally able to start opening up some doors into what am I really carrying? What have I been carrying my whole life? And especially around the idea of expectation, around shame. And so, yeah, you mentioned I get vulnerable in the book, and I do open up with a lot of stories. Now, some of them, because this book was written for my boys, I didn't go into full detail, but I do talk about things like being caught as a teenager in the church parking lot by the pastor having sex in my car. And oh yeah, that pastor was also my dad. and that's my favorite line of the whole book. Whenever I said, like the shame I felt from having sex in a teenager in the church parking lot. Oh, hey, Dad. And so it was just a fun experience to really talk about all that thing. But also, not only was it something I feel like that I needed to do, there was some even nervousness in releasing the book, knowing I talk about some of this stuff. And I really don't talk about those stories or share those stories, in my messages or at Hill City. So people really got a good glimpse into my life and the things that I carried. And so while I was so excited to release it, there was like this pullback again from the performance piece. What are people going to think? Oh, they're going to say, not just say, but realize I carried a lot of weight. I didn't do things perfect. I'm not, I'm I am who I am, and I'm trying to be vulnerable and authentic. And what I've realized in the process of releasing this book, man, I didn't drive anyone away. Matter of fact, I actually drew so many people even closer in, because they're like, oh my gosh, you said some things and I totally relate. And so it's been a week, and I've had so many amazing conversations, texts, emails. So it's been pretty amazing, actually.
Wow. And that, and the beautiful thing about that is, it's always scary to be vulnerable, right? And particularly when you're a leader, because you feel the weight of the leadership, you need to be an example, blah, blah, blah. But there are false ways of being in that, and that modeling that authenticity means that you don't have to hide as a leader who you are. You don't have to go to Aruba to be Channock Banet. Did I say that right? Channock Banet can come out and play. Not that there's not an irresponsibility, but there's this false responsibility that we carry that becomes a weight and a projection. Because if we're playing a role, we're hiding behind something. And every time there's hiding, it's just toxic. Oh, yeah. And so you being authentic gives other people permission to be authentic. Now, we're not saying being an authentic jerk. This is just authenticness of who you are as a human being, having struggles and blah, blah, blah. But that also gives people permission, like maybe I can show up in that way. And also, Channock, other leaders that are just crushed under the weight of expectations, under the weight of performance. And, I can't quite remember. I can look it up what your little byline was, but let me look
from
it
the
up
private hell of performance to the freedom of knowing I am. Yeah.
And and that is hell. Performance is hell in whatever arena it is. And God is, and you talked about going in the flow. I love that. We talked a little bit about that in your last interview, but with going in the flow, it means, where the Spirit is Lord, there is freedom. So there's freedom in that. And it's the lordship of, like, I know who you are. I know who I am, and I can flow in that and show up and actually be even a greater gift in my imperfection. So anyway, sorry.
I love it.
So
you're saying all my stuff. You're saying all the good things that I hope to convey in the book, and you're just catching on and relaying it. So I appreciate that so much, and I really think that, like you said, it's what a lot of people are really relating to in the book, like seeing my authenticity, some vulnerability. They're okay to bring that to the table and in the relationship. And when I was sit down to write this book, I knew it wasn't going to be like a theological work. Like, as a pastor, it's not anything theological, but it's very relatable. It's very real. It's relational. And I just shared my story, and not trying to provide any leadership principles or things like that. Just my story and what I've experienced and how I've seen God show up in my life, and how I've seen deeper connections with people when I was authentic. And for me, one of the chapters in the book, a couple of them that you've already referenced, this weight of expectation and the shame of should. And I started like writing out all these shoulds and should not, like as a pastor, like I should have it all together. My kids should never act up. Like I should have every answer to every question, especially theologically. And, I should make every wise decisions with my finances. I started making this list. And Corey's like, you need to keep going. Because Corey, the teaching pastor, helped me create this and edit this. And he's like, no, we got to keep adding to it. Nope, keep adding to it. And before I knew, I was like, I have like 5 or 6 pages. And they're like, people need to feel it. And they're not going to feel it with just a page or 2 or 10 or 11 things. So I can't even really remember. I didn't count exactly how many I ended up with. But it's a lot. It's like page after page after page of these expectations that I was sitting with. And people, when they reached out in the very beginning, after I released it, especially with my book launch team, after they read chapter 2, so many people reached out and said the same thing. They're like, oh my gosh, did I write this book? Now, they weren't a pastor, but they could relate to everything in those first few chapters in the weight they were carrying, the expectations either they felt other people put on them or they put on themselves, how a lot of that shame robbed them from experiencing joy and living the full life that Jesus called us to. And so I seriously had 4 or 5 people verbatim say, "Oh my gosh, did I write this book?" Which was like the highest compliment somebody could have given me. Like, it's my story and my stories, but people could relate. And that's what I'm finding out about. Like, people might not have the exact same experience in how it played out, but they're feeling the same way that I felt in their experience. And I didn't know if I would sell just a few copies. I didn't know if it was literally just something I would have on the shelf that I could give my boys and leave that legacy. But what I found in just a week after release, and then a few more weeks with my launch group, I've been getting so much good feedback. And it's a very quick read. It's 100 pages is it, and people can get through it in a few hours sitting down if they have just the time to focus in on it. But I really think what I'm finding is it's a little bit more transformational in people's lives than even I anticipated, to be honest.
And that's so huge. I mean, I think so many people are crushed under the weight of shoulds, under the weight of expectations. I think particularly for pastors, because or leaders, ministerial leaders, because it's the shoulds, the weight of expectations in Jesus' name, right? And that's a whole nother layer. And people have to have a safe place where they can just truly be themselves. It's not like everybody you meet, you just, these are all my problems. But, but being able to move in that. And I know Corey, your teaching pastor, Corey Rice, who's also amazing, has also been on this show and has written multiple things, has really championed you into writing this book, which was not an easy process. Because how long was this book kind of in your radar?
Well, let me give Corey just a little bit more of a shout out, because yes, he's way more than just our teaching pastor here at Hill City. I just know he has been on the podcast in that capacity before, but he's one of my best friends. He has been since he moved here 13 years ago. Moved here, lived with me. Yeah, so we love you, Corey. Appreciate you. But he was also really my hype man, and he knew I wanted to write the book, and he's the one that kept on me, kept encouraging me, helped me get that first outline. And I actually wrote Channock Banet like 2 or 3 years ago, and I knew that would either be the opening chapter or a chapter in some book someday. And I knew I wanted to write a book. But he's the one who kind of like helped me capture the essence of what it should be. And as I began to tell him stories, and I have all these stories written down over the last 5 or 6 years of things that I've experienced that happened, he's just like, take all those stories and turn them into chapters and expand on it. And so Channock Banet was written 2 or 3 years ago. I put it on the shelf. I picked it back up probably November, December last year. And Corey really helped me get an outline, helped me get like focused. And I think from December, and I think I had the first draft to the publisher the beginning of May. So a little over 5 months, really just focused in on writing. So it was a 5-month process. And what's wild is like the celebration piece, like even being on your podcast, like I'm humbled a little bit, because sometimes what I'm learning is how to celebrate and how to celebrate my accomplishments, what I've been able to do, because as a leader in that performance piece, it's never enough. Okay, great. Exactly. I released a book. Now it's about the next book, or how many books, or this or that, and so I'll have a hard time celebrating. But I remember it was probably in April sometimes I had, in the month sometime, I had 15 chapters or 14 chapters wrote. And I didn't know the theme or exactly where they were going to all fit together, but I had them all separated and all written. And I remember printing them out individually, and we have a big conference table here, and I like put them chapter 1 and then set them like side by side all the way. And I told Corey to come into the conference room. And I was like, here's the book. Like, it's so surreal. Like, here's the last 5 months of my work. and just down here on a few pieces of paper, you know? And
Yeah.
he's like, what are you going to do to celebrate this? I'm like, well, it's not a book. He's like, no, he goes, you don't understand from a writer. So he's written, I think, 3 books on his own. He's a part of another 2 or 3 books. So I think it's 6 books total. And he's like, you don't understand the process of what you got right here. The book's done. Like you will have a book because you've done this. This is the main part of the work. Now it's editing and rewrites. And I ended up adding 1 more chapter. And so it ended up being 15 chapters in the book. But he's like, we need to celebrate this like crazy. So he got the team in and we took pictures and all of the stuff.
Great.
And then last week we were on our staff retreat last Wednesday when the book actually released, June 25th. And the team all celebrated me and made it a big deal all day and stuff, which is, I'm still learning how to handle that celebration and how not to make it awkward and be okay to celebrate even myself, to be honest. I don't really know how to do that well. But I'm learning.
You are learning, and that is a big deal. And I love that, because someone's sort of putting your feet to the fire. It's like, wait. We are celebrating, right? And that performance mode, it's like, what's the next and what's the next thing? So, when it's the accomplishments are never enough when you're on that treadmill, right? There's always something more, or there's always something you could have done better. Right. And I know you talked to you at one point in the book, you were talking about how you were approaching like your accomplishments, where this sort of inner critic would be like, okay, that was a great message, but I should have brought this out, or I shouldn't have put that in, or whatever. And you would be critiquing. And so what have you learned in terms of, because the thing is, we're sons and daughters of God, which means we're in the image and likeness of God, who's amazing, who's great, who does amazing things. So because we're in that image and likeness, we're created to do great things. We are created to do, exploits and things, and that do know their God shall be strong and do exploits. But with that, how are you learning to navigate, like, I'm called to do great things, but I can rest as I'm doing them, and finished is better than perfect, because we're not looking for perfection. Right. And I can celebrate myself in that. So how is that process going for you? What are you learning? What have you learned?
Yeah, so a couple different things. Yeah, in that, I would say first off, like getting even a deeper understanding of identity and sonship or daughterhood is so huge, because you really get to a place where you come to rest and experience peace like you never have before when you begin to understand that identity, and that God-given, true, authentic identity, apart from what we do, apart from behavior. And when you really get a deeper understanding of that, your entire life begins to shift, because everything that you end up putting your hand to and that you go to do is always then from a place of already knowing, who you are. You're not striving for any position. You already know your position. You're not trying to impress. You already know that God's already impressed with you and loves you exactly where you are. So I think for me, that's always the biggest thing. It's what I probably preach and teach more than anything, is that identity piece, because I just know the impact that it has on our lives. But then specifically in the book, a section that I'll bring out real quick, probably the biggest transformation for me, the biggest thing that helped me in my process of emotional work and emotional health above everything else, was integration. And I could have said it like this in the book, but I chose integration because it was just how I learned it, just to be able to integrate all the parts of us and to not keep them compartmentalized. You have the good parts you want to display and the bad parts you want to hide. But when you begin to bring those bad parts, even the negative, it's accepting negative realities is what a lot of people know it as. When you begin to bring those negative realities to the surface and display all of you, good, bad, and ugly, and still be accepted in that, it is truly life-changing. And for me, I'm even getting a little emotional, like even thinking about it, like at that performance in my life, most of the things that I tried to perform in was hiding all of the bad parts of me. So then I overperformed and just wanted to display the good. So it's putting our ideal self out there, like this ideal self, whatever we think that may be, and we try to push that. But somewhere behind that ideal self is always a real self that we try to hide. But whenever you can get to the place to put the ideal behind and then truly present the real to people, it is scary and it's very vulnerable to do that. But at the same time, it's where actually true connection comes from. Because if people are just connecting to the things that you put out there that are just good, or your best attributes or best talents, whatever, that's not all of who you are. And so for me, that power of integration chapter, I really wanted to put it in there. And I don't know if I did even a good enough job for how transformative it was in my life, but that more than anything helped me on my journey to emotional health for sure.
And that's so true, because, when we're not allowing that to happen, it's like we're in relationship with just this part of me and hiding this part of me or these parts of me. And it's not real intimacy. So you know that, wow, but if they really saw, blah, 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 I wouldn't be accepted. And the thing is, if we're not accepted and loved, even in the places of our weaknesses, where blah blah, we're the not so polished, whatever, nasty, whatever we got going on. If we're not loved there, we're not loved, and we know this intrinsically. And so whenever we hide those things, whatever you hide, the shame grows, right? And so this is a real plug to do the emotional work of integration of the whatever. Now, what was the program that you used in your development? You said you did inner healing.
Yeah.
What was that?
Yeah, specifically, it was a program called Townsend Leadership Program. John Townsend created just a program with different leadership didactics and teachings, while at the same time trying to implement a lot of just emotional health work. And if I could plug Corey again, he actually took a lot of what I learned in TLP, and I actually had an LMFT, a therapist, come up and lead it with our whole team, take us through a whole year, once a month, all day group process and some therapy time, along with some of these teachings that I had learned that was transformative. I wanted my team to get that. Well, he took a lot of that and created and crafted really his own style of all those same things that I was learning. And he calls it ZLD, Zoe Leadership Development. You can actually go to saintsnotsinners.com, and he has that course available. It's a 6-session course, and it really takes you in a deep dive of a lot of emotional health work, but it's so transformative. But he does a great job in packaging all that stuff in a very condensed, relatable way that someone could go through very quickly and easily, and get a lot of those really good nuggets to then start the work, which is hard to do, but so beneficial.
It's so worth it. And I love the fact that you took your team through it. So it's like and as we do this in community, number one, it creates a safety, and it creates so much growth, because we're sort of coming out in a community process, which is so healthy. And that is, a leadership team creates a environment for the church as, itself, because this is one of the things that we value, that we're actually doing ourselves. What would you say to, I don't know, another pastor or leader that may be, struggling with a lot of these issues and finding themselves maybe in burnout or whatever, because of, I'm just going, I'm pushing all the time, and there's no place that I can be a Channock Banet.
Yeah.
So, right. So what would you say to them?
So, first off, I would say you are not alone, because I was there. And in the book, I talk about that journey and that process I was on, where in 2021, like, I just wanted to walk away, which is wild. If a lot of people not only knew that, but they would also have to know the context of, like, the ministry that we have here. And from the surface, everything looks amazing. And of course it is. And we have financial resources, and we have a lot of impact in the community. We have zero debt. I'm not carrying any weight or frustration with that. And so I'm sure a lot of people looking in would be like, what do you have to be worried about? Like, what are you carrying all that stuff for? Like have it made and are in an amazing place. And of course I would agree, but mentally I was just carrying some of that baggage and the weight. So of course I would say you're seen, you're heard. I would validate it like crazy because I was there. And even with perfect circumstances from what most people would say that they would want, to be able to like function in ministry, they would want access to what we've built and created. And even in that, I wanted to walk away. So I totally understand where anybody would be from. And I really think the important things for me is connection. And I think, connection is one of the biggest things that'll bring healing in life. Connection is, and I think, and I'm trying to think of the quote. I know Corey mentions it quite a bit, but even with addiction and things like that, where then some people in a place of burnout and frustration and all this, they might go to alcohol or pornography or whatever. But really what they're longing for is connection above everything else. And so trying to find a safe place, even if it's just with one, you have to start somewhere. Now, I was fortunate to have five. I had my five guys, and I think I talked about it on one of the last podcasts. Like, I had five people in my corner that I could go to at different times and have different conversations and bring up what I was experiencing. And I needed that, especially through some of the deconstruction stuff. Like, I don't even know what I believe about this at all anymore. Now I'm leading a church. How can I do this? And like what you said, like I felt like I got to hide. And so then I was like, it's very toxic. And it just developed this mindset. That's another big reason. In 2021, I was like, I'm experiencing this shift theologically, with my ideology. I don't quite have the language to match what I'm thinking fully. So I'm also here mentally, but I'm not able to really convey it yet. And it was like this, like, I don't know, like the only thing I can relate it to, if you're a visual person, is like a body of water that has no outlet. And so it just becomes very like stagnant water is what I related it to. Like no room to flow. And I felt like I'm getting the flow in, but I don't know how to make it flow out. And I was wrestling with a lot of that, especially around bringing language to what I was experiencing, like with the shift of my theology. And so I did feel a lot of times like a phony, like I needed to hide, or I just wanted to run away, or I don't know how to even convey what I'm feeling right now. So I don't even know what to do. And so yes, but to answer your question, with what I would tell those pastors is all the things that I mentioned. You're seen, heard. I've experienced that, but you need to find connection somewhere, and that's I think the most instrumental thing. Find a safe place of connection.
Yeah, and God will provide that. It's amazing because ultimately, if He's love, He's all about relationship and all about relationship. You can't have love if there's not authenticity, because I don't want to have one mask loving another mask, right? You know what I mean? And so He's all about that, and God will honor that. God will provide that, and we just need to be open and ask, because sometimes you may not have a five, but if you have one, that's good. And that can also grow because I'm finding more and more that people are seeking out communities where they can really be authentic and not have to hide behind stuff and talk about the things that really matter. And, and it's not like, and I'm sure you would agree with this, it's not like every single person you go to, you're like, blah, you know what I mean? But you've got to have your safe people, and God will provide that. That's part of what Holy Spirit is doing in creating a healthy body and just giving us health in our relationships in general. So So that's beautiful. So tell us a little more about your book. You have, like, is it 15 chapters, 16 chapters?
Yeah, 15 chapters. And it's really like I didn't put it in sections, but it could have been in sections. Like the first 4 or 5 chapters were about like this weight of shame, expectation, and a lot of that. Then I kind of shift, and the middle few chapters from probably chapter 5 through chapter 10. Um, it's kind of like the stuff that I learned in TLP and a lot of that integration work and process and the nutrients that we need, being able to ask for what we feel like we need, which is so difficult to be able to do. So I kind of lay that out a little bit, and then I shift how that's kind of translated in that sonship and identity, like coming to rest. And then the last 4 or 5 chapters of the book, probably 4 chapters, it kind of shifts then. Okay, it's kind of a process. Now, how do I see like the church and leadership and rethinking church, and let's lead with love, not metrics, is one of the titles of one of the chapters. And then finally getting to a place of fully rethinking church and leadership and all of it. So it could have really been, if I was like someone who would write a lot, it could have been like 4 separate books, but they were just very short snippets of like a journey of my life in that flow. And so that's really the layout of it. And so then I end. Um, so I wrote it, but even when I go back and read it, which I've done, even 4 or 5 times after I finished it, just to go through it again. Or sometimes I might even just rereading it to look for like mistakes or grammar corrections, things like that, even though I had some editors. But I found myself still laughing at myself a few times through it. But at the very end, I'll say I still cannot read it and read that last chapter, especially the last section of the last chapter, without crying myself. To think about the work that I did and the work that I put in emotionally, and to get to where I'm at, to be able to say the things that I was saying, like being able to lay down the microphone as a leader and it not have to be about me, and thinking like that's somebody that I would want to follow. And it's me writing it, but it still tears me up and I get a little emotional even still reading the last chapter. So if you're watching this and you've ordered the book or started the read and you didn't have the few hours to finish, go back and finish the last chapter. It's my favorite. I love the Channock Banet. I like all the work I put into it. But honestly, if you didn't want to read anything else, read the last section, the last few paragraphs of the last chapter, and like you'll see the work that went in to where I'm at today, all wrapped up in just a few pages. So.
Yeah, and that's so amazing. I remember one time, one part in your book, you were talking about, I'm leading a church, but I'm exhausted. I can't do church as usual, although the church is great.
Yeah.
But and part of that freedom, and we talked a little bit about, you're calling it Relife now,
Yep.
not Reinitiative.
Relife.
Okay.
Yep.
Right, Relife, and starting the Relife program where you came alive, right? Which does not look like, as great as the services are and all of that, which does not look like church as usual. But that's where you came alive, and you gave yourself permission to flow in a different direction that didn't look like the lead pastor and I minister, I teach, or preach,
Right.
50 times a year or whatever.
Right.
You tell us a little bit of that journey, because the thing is, if you don't have permission to go, you really don't have permission. You don't have freedom to stay, right? And vice versa. So tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so I tell everybody now that I actually get more excitement and joy out of helping people paint walls than I ever did on preaching sermons in my life. And there's actually a lot of truth to that too. So just the connection. Again, I didn't even realize it till I just said it out loud. Connection, like back to that connection piece. whenever you get with someone and you serve alongside several people, a group of people, when you're serving and working like that, like whether it's doing demo of a house or building a fence or painting a wall or whatever the project may be, when you come alongside of someone, you're serving with someone, going in the same direction, serving the same mission, and you're doing it because you want to show love. It's transformative in your life, and the relationships that are formed. I felt like in the last few years, I've developed some more solid connection and relationships in a few months and half a dozen times serving along someone than I ever did 6 years, them coming to services, worship services in a church setting. And so it's just, for me, it's something that, yeah, like I do, it brings me to life. I love talking about it. I love conveying it. Matter of fact, I was just sharing the story with someone a couple of weeks ago, and probably talked to him half an hour, and I could have sat there all day and talked to him about it, told stories. I leave for Africa. I just got back from Africa a few weeks ago, and I shared it about a week before I left. Well, he calls me the day after I get back and said, the Holy Spirit's just still stirring in me all the stuff that you shared. And I have this house, and I knew I was supposed to do something with it ministry wise. And so I want to be able to, he goes, I can't necessarily give this house away, but I need to work out a deal for you guys to just use it for the ministry or whatever. And so we're working some things with him, but I don't even know why I had to share that real quick, other than that just happened. And the conversation happened this morning, the follow-up to it. But it could even be like, something like that, like a 6-figure gift to Relife, just sharing the story. But people are getting behind it and understanding the importance of it. And it's really I think it's the church waking up to finally realizing we really have to get outside of our walls and start loving on our neighbors. And it's going to take time. It's going to take sacrifice, but the reward is so great. And what you experience is so amazing. And it's been a 2-year journey into it so far. And, hopefully I don't see any sign of it if it's slowing down anytime soon, but it's been good. And so it's been for me, I've had to learn now a little bit of a both and, to be honest, there for a season, even in all this stuff in the writing of the book. I don't know if I fully elaborate on it, but once kind of Relife took over and I had the excitement, and this is church. Like, I get more excited about doing this and being the church in this capacity than I do coming to worship services or preaching. And so I found myself like being pulled, like, I don't know if I even want to be a part of services anymore, but the pendulum's kind of come back where it's kind of settled in not an either or, but it's been this both and that I'm learning to rest in and seeing the importance and benefits of both in my life. So.
And they both carry life. And once you don't have to perform and be perfect, right? You're allowed to maybe embrace what before I had to kind of back off from, because I didn't know how not to perform in that arena.
Right.
So for those people that don't know what you mean by Relife, since we brought it up,
gotcha, yeah.
I'm not clear about what that is. So tell us about the Relife initiative.
Yeah. So a couple of years ago, tired of just doing church the way I've always done it, and was really just praying, seeking what we can do in the community. And God gave me an idea and a vision to start doing more in the housing world, and specifically providing affordable housing to single moms in our community. So we started what is now called Relife. August 2023, we purchased our first home. We had the church show up like crazy, over 1,100 volunteer man hours, over 30,000 in donations, I believe. Wow. Transformed this old dilapidated space, gutted it to studs, rebuilt it back, and was able to work with another ministry partner where they house temporarily women, specifically single moms and their children coming out of domestic abuse. And then they help them get back on their feet, but then they need to transition out back into a safe environment. So now that's where we come in and provide that house for them to come in, pay an affordable rate. It's a 2-year program. And then our hope is not just to be be landlords and have them be our tenants, but really to empower these single moms for home ownership. So not all of them will necessarily apply, but that's the main goal, is that they would potentially then, after the 2-year program's over, work out a process to be able to buy the home from us. There's lots more intricate details with that. I've shared a little bit on the podcast before, but that's a whole separate maybe podcast or whatever in and of itself. But yeah, and so with this, what we feel like what's branched out of it is so much more. We started a mom mentoring program where we pair the moms with mentors. We've started different connection pieces through one of we bought a house and it came with this old church building. We've renovated it into now our headquarter building for Relife. And out of there, we offer connection. We offer Hispanic gatherings on Friday nights. We offer recovery groups. We offer trauma-based therapy groups, resume writing classes. So we're just really trying to build that safe place, but that place where people can really just come and connect, and hopefully build those relationships where they can begin to open up and, live a full life, in connection with others and with Jesus. So.
Wow, that is so huge. That is Jesus with hands and feet. And so that's brought you so much life. And then it's really interesting to see, once you kind of gave yourself permission to really run after that you could sort of embrace maybe some more of the teaching pastoral stuff too, that you were kind of burnt out on.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of the pendulum's kind of swing. So, and it is amazing when we get out of the shoulds and have to, and I have to show up a certain way. That's not really who I am.
Yeah.
That's incredibly draining. Then we can start to embrace things because we're approaching it in a different way. And that's amazing. One of the things I was just thinking with that Relife, the number one thing where they've done studies about people and their economic future is home ownership. When people get to the place where they own their own homes, that actually shifts things generationally as kind of one of the number one areas of impact. So I just want to applaud that. That is an amazing thing.
It is. And you're right on with that. Our second mom in the home, when she got approved, she was sitting around the table with our committee that vets the moms and goes over the application process with them. And once she was told she was approved, of course, she began to weep, got emotional. And she said, no one in my entire family has ever been a homeowner. And now I have the opportunity to. My parents weren't, my siblings weren't, my grandparents weren't, my aunt and uncles never owned a home. I'm going to be the first one that I know of in my family to ever own a home. And so
what a generational impact. Yeah. I mean, that is glorious. Yeah. Wow. And it's great because part of that permission that you gave yourself, actually, you gave yourself permission to dream. Really dreaming with God and what this looks like. And that's what freedom does. I've noticed in the places when I've been under this heavy duty performance, and enough is never enough, right? And good enough is never good enough, and all of that. And it's just this hamster wheel. You really start to lose your creativity. And so one of the red flags for me is I'm sort of just internally like, am I still operating from rest, or am I getting into striving? What's right. going on here? Right. As I notice my creativity starts to tank. And then it's like a warning signal for me is like, wait a second, I need to do something for myself that, what is it that I'm needing? And then I'm engaging with Holy Spirit. What do I need? And all of that. We all have to have people that we can go to help us in our journey and with whatever program that we're, doing, or whatever community we're doing that with. What is your hope for the book? And I know it started out as a legacy piece for your kids, which is awesome. Just that. But what is your hope for an impact? Are you seeing it more for leaders? Are you seeing it? Or is this just for everyday people? Who's your audience?
Well, honestly, just because of the response that I've been getting, the book really is for anyone and everyone. I really thought especially how I like finally transitioned it over, like my journey and my health journey into now how I see the church and leadership, that it would be more for pastors and leaders. But what I found is everyone has really related, and it's resonated with literally every single person that has read it. And um, so really, yeah, I think anyone and everyone that wants to get a little more free in their life should read enough already.
Yes, they
Yeah,
should. I agree. I will second the
yeah.
motion. So let me ask you, where can they find it?
Right now it's on Amazon and it's paperback,
Mhm.
or you can get it on Kindle. Again, it's only 100 pages, so I promise you, you could sit down and read it a couple quick settings or one like 2 hour setting. I promise you, you can get through the whole book. I had a really good friend of mine reach out and really just encourage me recently. Um, about the book. He loved it, and he's like, "I'm going to be honest, it's one of the best books that I've read." But he goes, "I haven't read a book in like 5 years," and he was able to sit down and in two settings and read through the whole thing. And this is someone who is, you know, not used to reading much or reads very rarely. And even he
Right.
read through it and got something out of it. So whether you're a reader or not, it'll
Yeah.
be a quick, easy read for you, and you can get started
Yeah.
in it.
Totally. I, yeah, when I got it, I started reading and I couldn't put it down. So it's very engaging. It draws you in, and yeah, it is an easy read. And in some ways, it's not like it doesn't challenge you at all, but I feel like it hits so much. It sort of bypasses your mental defenses a little bit, and really speaks to the heart because it is story.
Yeah.
There's so many stories in it, and that always sort of bypasses things, so we're not getting all in our heads. And this is where the transformation happens, and sort of gives us permission to, like, oh wow, I've experienced that as well. So if people want to know more about Relife, where would they contact you for
Yeah.
that, or how would they
So
contact
go to thepowerofre.com. Thepowerofre.com.
you?
Yeah, the power of re, and that's what we built everything on, this idea of re, and whether it's being redeemed, remodeled, whether it's rethinking, restoring, but it's the power of re.com.
So
And you can see the homes that we have there and that we've renovated. They're on there as well. You can see all the programs that we have. If you're in the area, if you're watching this, you're in the Louisville area, you can even sign up to volunteer right from the website, or if you'd even be encouraged to give, or be a part of those that give to the moms and their Amazon wish list when they move into the homes. Those will all be posted
oh,
right there on the website as well.
oh, that is awesome. And tell us about Hill City. Where can
Yeah,
they find your?
hillcity.tv. And we stream our services every Sunday. Follow us on socials. We try to put out very encouraging content. We put out even some challenging content, um, based around just a good God and our good Father and His love. And I get encouraged from it. I'm not over that department, but it always encourages me to see all of those posts. So make sure you follow us. It's just Hill City, um, on everything, I think.
Yeah.
Look at me, I don't even know. I know it's hillcity.tv, the website, though.
Yes, it is. They'll find it. They'll find it. So, and if they want to contact you, how would they contact you, Shannon?
Yeah, you can get a hold of me at Channock at hillcity.tv. I get those emails and check them every day. And so if you have questions, want to know about our church, our community, the book, Relife, anything, Channock, CHANNOCK at hillcity.tv, as in television.
Wonderful, wonderful. Any final comments? Any final thing you want to leave us with? And
Real quick, I was reminded when I was in Africa recently with Jamie Englehart. He mentioned something that Miles Monroe once said, and he said, if you look at the Gospel of John, when Jesus shows back up to his disciples and he goes through this locked door, but the disciples weren't impressed by that miracle. They had seen him do all kinds of miracles before. He just showed up. He gives them a message, peace be with you. They didn't seem to be moved. They had heard him say peace throughout his entire life. So they weren't impressed by the miracle. They weren't impressed by the message. But then it says, then he opened his hands and showed him his hands. He showed him his side, showed him his wounds. Then the Gospels say, then they were overjoyed. And I think it's one thing, we can have the miracles, we can carry the message, but until we start showing people our wounds, being vulnerable, because what the world is longing for is authentic, real authentic people. And I think, even the process of this book will help in that journey to some authentic freedom that I think you need in your life.
Yes. Wow. That's amazing. That will definitely preach. Wonderful. Well, everybody, go get the book. Tell us what the title is again.
Yeah, Enough Already. So it was a play on words. I was tired of living the way I was living, tired of living by performance. And I said, enough already. And then I finally got to the place that I realized I can rest because I'm enough already.
You are enough already, and so are we. Wow. Beautiful, beautiful. Well, this has been a joy, Channock. I'm sure I will have you back again. We always have a great time.
Yeah, absolutely.
So appreciate it. And I hear you're running off to the lake soon.
Yeah.
So that will be good.
Yeah, looking forward to that as well. So thank you so much. I appreciate you. Appreciate all you do through your podcast, through your connection. And I know that's your heart, is connecting with people that are doing amazing things, but connecting them to your amazing friends and amazing listeners and amazing viewers. So just thank you for what you do as well. And thank you for having me back on. Can't wait to be back on again soon.
Yay. Well, we will do it. I'm sure we will do it. Wonderful. All right, everybody, you know the drill. Like, share, all that. Someone needs to hear this, and you need the book. So go nab your copy, connect with Channock, and do all the things, and do the work that will lead to that kind of freedom, because you deserve that. And so what do you say on your podcast, by the way? Tell us about your podcast.
Yeah. Podcast, Two Pastors and a Mic. Myself and Corey Rice have been doing that for about 4.5 years now, having a great time. We talk about anything and everything, whether it is personal, whether it's spiritual, deconstruction. We just go after all the sacred cows too throughout the journey. We have some amazing guests on in the summer, but you can find that at Two Pastors and a Mic.
Yes, wonderful. All right, lots for you guys, lots of resources. So this is wonderful. Well, wonderful. It's been great to have you on, Channock, and everybody like, share, do all the things, and have a wonderful day, evening, whatever time of the day it is.
Yeah.
You are loved. And there's nothing you can do about it. Wonderful. Awesome. All right. Well, love you, Channock, and thanks, everybody. Have a wonderful day. Okay. Bye-bye. Hi there. Thank you so much for tuning in and watching. Before you go, I want to ask you a serious question. Are you feeling stuck, drained, like your calling is costing you peace? If you're tired of running on empty, I want to invite you to a free masterclass that could change everything. It's called Protect Your Purpose Masterclass, and it's not just another to-do list or hustle strategy. It's a space to reset, breathe, and reconnect with the joy of your calling. If you want to learn how to break free from burnout, recover your passion, and thrive in your purpose without losing yourself in the process, go to CatherineToon.com/watch the masterclass and register. It's time to stop surviving and start thriving. Go to CatherineToon.com/watch the masterclass now.
Thanks for joining us on this episode of Perspectives with Catherine Toon. For additional information and resources, please visit CatherineToon.com.